really around the goodwill that exists between the two countries, not only at the level of the state, but the peoples of the two nations. The point, in terms of background points of emphasis, it was emphasized the need to action a lot of the bilateral agreements that have already been concluded by the two governments, that these must be actioned and must be ratified by the two legislatures in order to enable us to progress forward mutually in business. Also, a critical point that was a theme that came across all the sessions was really the need for us to diversify our economies. I think the presidents, every time they've spoken following a SADC meeting, is this point of the need to industrialize our economies and integrate and invest in infrastructure. So those points, Honorable Presidents, also come through very heavily in the discussions around business. The development of industry and infrastructure in order to support regional integration. To go one level deeper and speak about the discussions in the oil and gas session initially, there was a highlight of the new projects that are coming on stream in the oil and gas sector, specifically source being Mozambique, but also highlighting the possibility of partnerships between the two nations around this resource, and the requirement to utilize this unique opportunity to develop these initiatives within the legislation of the two countries. Specifically that in South Africa we have triple BEE, that we must consider that, and that in Mozambique also there's a framework for development of local content which has been entrenched in the new gas development legislation in Mozambique. And considering, a point that came out very clearly as well is that considering the capacity constraints, especially in the context of the need for localization and the introduction of Mozambican participation in this very important sector, there was a highlight of the shortfall of capacity so that there is a real opportunity and we must collectively drive partnerships between South African and Mozambican businesses in order to fulfill the gap of domestic participation. A number of challenges come up, again to repeat, the central one being the skills and technical sector skills very specifically in the oil and gas sector, and consequentially the point about the need for sharing of expertise, the need to entrench local content requirements in Mozambique. In terms of a specific project, the Anadarko project was utilized where South Africa's ECIC, which is the Export Insurance Corporation, in their funding there's a requirement for local content, a very specific percentage, and that how do we use the institutional capacity of the chambers on both sides and associations to build and to also track and monitor participation by domestic business people and enterprise on both sides. A final point that was discussed in this commission was the need to share the expertise gained by South Africa around economic transformation, very specifically the whole regime of black economic empowerment and bringing in domestic indigenous business people into the mainstream of the economy. What are the lessons learned, and what are those lessons that we can share with Mozambique in its drive, presidents, to develop a local content participation? And then in the agriculture sector, which was the second of the four sectors, the need was highlighted for increased productivity in agriculture and the consequential also shortage of skills, and considering that South Africa has a thriving agriculture sector and skills and capacity, what are the two, what can we share between the two countries in order to create capacity, both in additional capacity, both in Mozambique and in South Africa. A very big point that came out very early on in the deliberations in this sector, in fact in the broader session, was although there's opportunity for processing of agricultural commodities, there's a challenge. Most farmers are faced with a challenge of financing in the primary sector of agriculture. So the people that actually work the land, whether commercial or otherwise, where are the sources of financing? I think the point that came out very heavily is the very expensive financing instruments that are currently available. This would have to be dealt with one way or another in order to ensure that there is primary production. And we know that agriculture is an issue that is central and primary to the agenda of the Mozambican government in this current term. Also within the context of not only Mozambique and South Africa, but more broadly the continent, food and nutrition came out as a principal point, I think related primarily to the global issue that's being discussed around food security. If we look at Africa, it's not only a resource extraction geography. We have a growing population in our countries, and we need to feed our populations. So the issue of meeting demand around food and nutrition. Also from a sustainability point of view, the need to manage sustainably agricultural resources. As we are aware, it's not that they are ever green, so to say, but how do we produce within ensuring that these are sustainably developed. Also that considering the evolved nature of the South African agricultural sector, how do we work together in order to assist in strengthening sectorial reform in Mozambique around development of the agriculture sector? And then there was the identification of special economic zones specifically for agriculture and the need to take advantage of these. An example that was utilized is in the poultry sector and emphasizing the need for partnerships around these SEZs for development of agriculture. And then research priorities also around agriculture, the need for mutual support around development of new technologies in the agriculture sector. It was highlighted that both countries, especially in this case, Mozambique has vast arable land, available water, resources, and the partnerships to exploit these resources was a critical area for us to look at and to spend time developing. President, I think the colleagues, both from the Mozambique and the South Africa side, would want us to emphasize that there was a huge emphasis to say we need more gender representation, both in the delegations and also in this sector specifically, and inviting our leaders to support gender representation in a number of these sectors. To come to the third, the tourism and services sector, a wide number of companies were represented. Members highlighted opportunities in both countries for joint development, various methodologies for partnerships, the opportunity, I mean, if we look globally, tourism between South Africa and Mozambique represents an enormous opportunity, and if you do comparisons with world tourism numbers, we have not, as the two countries, really tapped into the potential of those sectors. So to highlight the opportunity to further invest in tourism and further exploit tourism as a contributor to economic growth. And then there was talk about the various methodologies for partnerships to exploit this sector. And again, the point of the need in even this sector and all other sectors to concentrate and focus and accept domestic legislation when we partner. Again, the point of black economic empowerment in South Africa, but also localization in Mozambique. And the important point of not only looking at the legislation, but also understanding the spirit of what is intended to achieve. And the need for institutional coordination in this sector was also highlighted, ministers. That also, rather than, sort of ad hoc activity by the chambers and the associations, that there's a real need for more trade missions, visits between the two countries, need for chamber associations to act in a coordinated manner, and very, very, very positive commentary on the policy framework between South Africa and Mozambique and the BNC that was launched today. And the final one, in summary, the infrastructure. This was seen as a pivotal growth sector. This is an area that we invest in also, that unless we invest in industrial capacity and infrastructure capacity, it'll be difficult to realize the potential of our two nations and the region. A number of sectors were discussed in detail, including the power sectors, the opportunities it represents, energy, transportation, logistics, agriculture, and tourism. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ntuli. Without any further delay, may I now invite Mr. Rogério Manuel from the Mozambican business side to speak to us.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I'll speak in Portuguese, as Ronnie spoke in English. So, Sua Excelência Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, Presidente da República de Moçambique, Sua Excelência Jacob Zuma, Presidente da República da África do Sul, senhores membros do Conselho de Ministros da África do Sul e de Moçambique, senhores membros dos governos da África do Sul e de Moçambique, excelências, caros empresários, meus colegas, distintos convidados, todo o protocolo observado, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Antes de iniciar a minha intervenção, desejaria, em nome da CTE, a Confederação das Associações Económicas de Moçambique, e em meu nome pessoal, expressar a nossa gratidão à Sua Excelência Jacob Zuma pela tão amável hospitalidade que seu país nos dispensou desde a nossa chegada. Os nossos agradecimentos estendem-se igualmente à Sua Excelência Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, Presidente da República de Moçambique, pela oportunidade que nos foi concedida, enquanto setor privado, de integrar na sua visita de Estado à República da África do Sul. Ainda esta manhã, a delegação de empresários de Moçambique participou ativamente no Fórum de Negócios África do Sul-Moçambique e que, por sua vez, constituiu uma oportunidade única para a troca de informações e, igualmente, para explorar as inúmeras oportunidades de negócios e de investimentos existentes e ainda por explorar entre os dois países. Por essa razão, excelências, fazemos uma avaliação positiva e muito encorajadora do Fórum de Negócios, na certeza de termos logrado os objetivos empresariais e económicos que nos propusemos com a presente missão e, por conseguinte, constitui nosso intento continuar a promover mais eventos desta natureza entre estes dois países vizinhos. O meu colega Ronnie e eu acordamos que ele iria entrar em detalhes e apresentar aqui na plenária os detalhes daquilo que foi o Fórum Empresarial hoje, e ele apresentou com todo o detalhe, não deixou nada para trás, e eu queria agradecê-lo por esta apresentação que ele fez. No fórum desta manhã mostramos as potencialidades económicas de Moçambique, com destaque para a agricultura e a recente descoberta e início de exploração de recursos naturais, desde os minerais, estou a falar do carvão e o minério de ferro, hidrocarbonetos, que é o gás natural, que tornam Moçambique um destino de elevadíssimos volumes de investimentos associados às inúmeras oportunidades que podem ser prontamente exploradas pelos investidores emergentes. É nesta base que se prevê que nos próximos 10 anos o PIB de Moçambique cresça a uma taxa de 8% a 10%, graças à indústria de mineração flutuante, com o gás natural como o principal motor. Além disso, espera-se que em 2020 se dê o início da exploração da fábrica de liquidificação de gás natural, LNG, projetada para a Península da Funge, no distrito de Palma, província de Cabo Delgado, o que colocará o nosso país num novo período de forte crescimento. Finalmente, Excelências, ressaltar que é o dinamismo dos negócios e o empreendedorismo que formam a vanguarda da nossa relação, a relação essa empresarial entre estes dois países, e que a presença de Vossas Excelências, o Presidente da República de Moçambique, o Presidente Filipe Nyusi, e o Presidente da África do Sul, Sua Excelência, o Presidente Jacob Zuma, tanto engrandecem-nos e acrescentam em nós a confiança e a segurança de continuar a investir tanto em Moçambique como na África do Sul. E por isso, Excelências, nós agradecemos este conforto vosso e olhamos também para a parte política, que também nos encoraja muito esta amizade e cooperação dos dois países. Excelências, por um melhor ambiente de negócios entre Moçambique e África do Sul, o nosso muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. Your Excellencies, Ministers, business leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I think that the reports that we've received are very much in line with the major themes and directions which I think we in the government side have been discussing in the official talks. What the main theme was of regional industrialization is something which is very dear to our own hearts here in South Africa. When we just look at the challenges that we are facing in the global economy now, we have seen a massive fall-off in primary mineral commodity prices. I know the figures very well off the top of my head from South Africa, that the platinum price is 1/3 down what it was in 2012, gold is half what it was in 2012, and iron ore is only 1/3 what it was in 2012. And similar examples can be given in the area of petroleum, gas, and other mineral commodities as well. And I think that what this is telling us is that the challenge that is facing us is to accelerate our efforts to do what we've been saying for some time, to move out of the least economically viable parts of global value chains. And that is to say, producing and exporting primary products and importing finished goods, to move up value chains, to move into the parts of value chains where there's much more income and much more employment opportunities. And that means that we've got to make use of the resources that we have, add value to them, and turn them into goods that have much higher value-added content. That's the journey that we're on. And I think we've agreed in our regional bodies, both our countries, that we can't do this on our own. That's why we are looking to regional integration as one of the key drivers of industrial development, why we're looking to regional integration with a developmental focus, with a big focus on infrastructure, as well as on cooperation to promote industrial development. I want to say that I think that the reports that have come from the two business leaders are very encouraging. And I want to commit our department, we've already been talking, myself and Max Tornella, about ways in which our two departments can work more closely together. I want to just say one thing, that it's not that Mozambique has local content and South Africa's got BEE. South Africa has local content as well. We are using local content regulations as ways to try to use our infrastructure build program to support more industrial development in our own countries. So I think that what we would be looking to do would be to exchange views with yourselves about the local content that we are using, the tool local content, that you are, I think, correctly seeking to use in your own gas industrial development efforts, and that the gas resource becomes a tool to support your own industrial development, as well as a potential tool to support industrial development across the region. That, I think, is the journey that we're on. And I want to say that we are committed as the Department of Trade and Industry to work with our sister department in Mozambique to try to find ways that we can work more closely together. That has been the message that has come from both our presidents, and that is something that I think we are looking to do. If we look at our trade figures, we can see that our trade has actually doubled more or less between 2011 and 2014. There's still a massive trade imbalance in South Africa's favor, but actually over the years, the imports from Mozambique have gone up, and a few of those are also value-added products, which I think is something worth noting. And I think we need to work further on how we can make that trade more balanced. Also, South Africa is one of the largest investors in Mozambique. I think before the gas we were the largest. Now with the gas we are among the top three. And I think that we want to encourage a strengthening of both trade and investment relations. At this point, it's my privilege to introduce the keynote speaker on the South African side, President Jacob Zuma. I think one of the points that was made by both presidents earlier on in the proceedings was that when we talk about ties, economic ties between our countries, these are based on very, very powerful ties that take place, that have been forged over centuries and decades. They include what I think Ronnie Ntuli represents, that there are family ties that reach across our two borders. Many people from South Africa have got relatives in Mozambique. Many Mozambicans have got relatives in South Africa. Those colonial borders divided existing communities, and those communities continue to interact across the borders. But also we've got very strong ties that were forged in our struggle for liberation. Actually, all of us sitting at the table here are either current residents of Mozambique, or in the case of President Zuma and myself, are former residents of Mozambique. Both of us myself as a very junior member of the ANC. The first time I met President Zuma, he was already on the national executive, but based in Mozambique. We benefited from the hospitality, the solidarity, and the support from Mozambique during the struggle for liberation in South Africa. Mozambique bore a very heavy brunt of the retaliation by the apartheid regime. The war of destabilization, the physical assaults. Earlier this year, President Zuma went to open the Matola Memorial, and that was actually one of the first raids I remember being in Mozambique for, when the Matola raid happened, and a number of our comrades were killed there. So this is a series of ties that were strongly forged. And President Zuma was a very strong part of that. President Zuma was there for many of the years that he spent in exile. President Zuma led the ANC presence at various stages in Mozambique. He was the chief representative at one stage, but he was also much more than that. He was a senior leader of the ANC and constantly in engagements with our colleagues in Mozambique. Earlier today, we heard that in the very short time that President Nyusi has been President of the Republic, I think it's since January this year, so what's that, 9 months that he's been President, the two presidents have met 3 times, in addition to meeting on the margins of various international meetings, the UN, SADC, the AU, and so on. And I think that President Zuma is someone who is very strongly committed to building African integration African ties. President Zuma has played a very active role in the African Union since he's been President of the Republic. He's also led our country into membership of BRICS and led an innovation in BRICS in which the relationship with the regions has become a key factor of the relationship between the BRICS members' countries. So President Zuma, I don't think there can be anybody better than yourself to come and speak about the present state of relations with Mozambique, including relations in the economic sphere. So may I now invite you to come and address the business forum. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Minister. The only problem, don't tell Shava key. Huh? You said I'm a keynote address. On the staff Shava. Your Excellency, President Filipe Nyusi, honorable ministers from both delegations and deputy ministers, ambassadors, captains of industry and commerce, senior officials, distinguished guests, good afternoon to you all. Potard. I can still say a few words, I think, in Portuguese. I stayed in Mozambique for 10 years, but I didn't succeed to know the language. It's a long story why. Your Excellency, it is a privilege and honor for me to welcome you, Your Excellency, President Filipe Nyusi, and your business delegation to the South Africa-Mozambique Business Forum. I would also like to reiterate my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, President Nyusi, for accepting my invitation to undertake his first state visit to South Africa. This is a significant visit in the nature of our bilateral relations, as today we inaugurated the South Africa-Mozambique Binational Commission. This means that the structured relations between the two sister countries will now be managed and led directly by the two heads of states. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, we meet against the background of growing economic relations between our two countries. This is not surprising, given the deep historical bonds between our peoples and the two countries. We were together in the trenches fighting against apartheid and Portuguese colonialism. It is correct that we now work together as we build a better life and promote the fight against poverty, unemployment, and inequality in our respective countries. In 2014, total trade between South Africa and Mozambique was recorded just below 44 billion rand, increasing from 29 billion rand in 2012. This increase is encouraging indeed, South Africa has emerged as the main trading partner for Mozambique and its main source of foreign direct investment. Over 300 South African companies have invested in Mozambique, and our sister country is now part of the top 5 of South Africa's trade partners in the region. The scope for further growth remains, which is why we have convened this business forum here today. We want business from both countries to take advantage of the strong fraternal relations between our two countries for further growth and indeed to grow the relations. 2 agreements serve as a framework for economic engagement between our two countries. The promotion and reciprocal protection of investments agreement between South Africa and Mozambique, which was entered into in February 2000, serves to encourage new South African investments towards Mozambique. The Department of Trade and Industry further entered into a memorandum of understanding on economic cooperation signed in 2005. Cooperation within the MOU covers a wide spectrum of areas such as technical capacity building, industry collaboration, spatial development initiative program, implementation, and trade facilitation. To further cement relations between the two countries, the avoidance of double taxation agreement and the agreement on one-stop border posts were signed during the last Heads of State bilateral economic forum in September 2007. These instruments and the BNC provide the environment for us to take relations forward. We already cooperate closely in the key sectors such as energy, mineral resources, tourism, transport, communications, science and technology, environmental affairs, labor, agriculture, arts and culture, trade, and industry. During this visit, we want to further deepen cooperation in these areas and explore others such as education, transport, communications, energy, and infrastructure. This expansion must be aligned to the theme of regional industrialization. This is due to the recognition that Africa must break its dependence on commodity extraction and exports that are vulnerable to price fluctuations. We must shift towards greater industrial development that leads to a more sustainable economic growth path. In this regard, I'm pleased that we are prioritizing industrialization at the Business Forum. Your Excellency, we are both keen to enhance relations on energy, given the energy challenge facing both our countries. South Africa and Mozambique boast a long-standing cooperation in the field of energy. The energy cooperation between the two countries is characterized by sharing of energy and power resources, focusing on power plants and related infrastructure undertaken by Eskom and EDM, as well as the natural gas business to advance the development of gas to power projects. Mozambique offers great possibilities considering the newly discovered gas reserves. Our ministers will ensure the implementation of our agreements in the energy sectors, particularly in oil and gas sectors. There are opportunities for South African companies to enter the Mozambique hydrocarbons sector in ways beneficial to both countries. Your Excellency, cooperation in infrastructure development and efforts to enhance regional integration remains critical to all of us. Our two countries are working together in the development of 5 special development corridors. These are the Maputo Development Corridor, the Beira SDI, the Limpopo Valley SDI, the Zambezi Valley SDI, as well as the Nankala Development Corridor. Other interactions that have taken place between the business sector of Mozambique and South Africa. I wish I was still, I have never been. I wish I was a businessman. I nearly said I wish I was still a businessman. Never was I. I wish I was a businessman. Because our freedom of the two countries will become meaningful to all of us if we free ourselves economically. That struggle is in your hands. You need to take us where we are politically, to put us somewhere economically. Because these two go together, the politics and the economy. There is political power. Political power without economic power is dangerous. Just like if economic power, you have it without political power. These two go together. If I had time, I would tell you that if I was a businessman, what I would do to succeed. But we don't have time. I'm really looking at this coming together as one of the unique interactions between the two countries. We, at a political level, we interact all the time. We need you at the economic level to interact all the time. Work together, grow the economies of the two countries. Make us proud. I'm very keen to one day to walk in Mozambique and see investment bank called probably Nyusi Investment Bank. Huh? It's absolutely important, and we can do it. I think now, more than any other time before, these two countries have resources. We are also discovering oil and gas here. We can work together. We can be a dynamic twin countries in the south. Link up with other brother countries, Namibia, Angola, this way up to Tanzania. We can be a wonderful bloc. We can control this coastal line, which is so rich, if we do things right. I'm saying this meeting must give birth to many success stories. We'll ask you in a few years' time. I'm going to live up to 100 years, so I'm not going to die quicker. We'll ask you, how far have you gone? Because we in politics, we have gone very far. We have democracy, we have everything you can think of. People are voting. But the reality, votes can't produce what you can produce, the economic development. Because once we develop economically, we'll develop our people in every respect. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge. This binational commission that we have taken up to the presidential level is like a road that directs you to the destination. It is now structured relations you must take advantage of. That's why I kept on saying, take advantage of the situation between the two countries. Well, I can't say more than that. I'm not a businessman. I can't teach you business. I was asked a question one time, what determines the value of a commodity? And I couldn't answer the question because I'm not a businessman. I said, why don't you ask business people? Well, some people say it is a law of, you know it. You know it, I'm sure you know, the law of supply and demand. It's a debatable issue, but I'm not going to get into it. Let us take it, law of supply and demand. Work together. Form big companies that must control the economy. Because there's no use being in the economy, but there are big countries from some countries I don't know who are in control of our economies. That is a problem. And you can't control the economy if you think on your own, with your little shop, you can do it. It needs companies. And these companies must work together. They must grow to a point where you can buy foreign companies so that we own them. You must have that ambition. Just like us when we're fighting for freedom. We never said we'll fight one day, we'll be free. We said freedom now, even if we knew it was difficult, because we were determined to succeed. Take your involvement in business as part of the struggle to liberate our people economically. And if that is the case, the approach must be different, must be informed by patriotism and determination to succeed. I'm just pleading. I'm just a simple little politician. I know no business. When I count money, I used to earn in thousands. Now I can count billions. Very difficult. Because I've never seen a billion. Now I'm told you guys these days count money in trillions. To me, that is like, I don't think I'll ever see a trillion. But you guys will see a trillion. So, please, patriotism must go together with business interests for these two countries. We are together, we were made to be together by nature and will never be far away from the other. So whether we like it or not, we have got to work together, not so. If we didn't do so, we'll not be bright. And then people from far will come and take things away from us. I'm more worried about oil and gas, the huge deposits. Are we going to look at them coming and going, as we did with gold and diamond, etc.? I'm happy. You must be aiming at them being owned by you. I think that's the main thing. Then our people will be free, economically. I'm discussing economy, please. This is not politics, it's economy. There's what is called, I'm sure my brother knows, political economy. You can't separate it, and you know it better. The minister here knows it better, not so. Political economy. I'm saying all of this because I'm thinking back when we're fighting for freedom, when it was really difficult, when we never knew we'll ever succeed, when many of our people remained in the field. It was difficult. Today we're free. Why should we fail? I know some of the energetic businessmen sitting here. Use your energy properly, not so. For money company, cool, huge company. What is company in Afrikaans, my friend? Huh? Must? Maskape. Grande Maskape. Huh? Grande Maskape. Well, Your Excellency, let me once again thank His Excellency, President Nyusi, for accepting my invitation to undertake this state visit to South Africa. It is a state visit in one sense, but this is a brother visiting another brother, because Mozambique is our second home. This is a wonderful visit by comrades and friends with whom we share a deep history of struggle and comradeship. We are happy indeed to host you, Your Excellency, and the Mozambican business delegation and your ministers. We expect positive results from engagements at this business forum. Please, once again, I want to repeat be patriotic, nationalistic, not in a narrow sense, in a broader sense, so that you can succeed. I still want to see an investment bank of Thank you very much, Director.
Muito obrigado, Presidente Zuma. Neste momento, queria convidar o Ministro Max Tonela ao pódio para proferir os seus próprios comentários e introduzir a Presidente Nyusi. Obrigado.
Sua Excelência Jacob Zuma, Presidente da República da África do Sul, Sua Excelência Filipe Nyusi, Presidente da República de Moçambique, Sua Excelência Rob Davis, Ministro da Indústria e do Comércio da África do Sul, Senhores Membros do Governo da República da África do Sul e da República de Moçambique, Excelências, estimados empresários, distintos convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Quero receber os nossos cumprimentos e a manifestação de apreço pela oportunidade gerada por este fórum que procura consolidar a aproximação dos homens de negócio dos nossos dois países. Excelências, tal como foi referido, estão nesta sala empresários e homens de negócios de Moçambique e da África do Sul que, ao longo da manhã, desdobraram-se em contactos tendentes a materializar intenções de negócio e de investimento, conforme os relatórios que foram apresentados. Da parte moçambicana, em termos numéricos, participaram um pouco mais de 60 empresários, 20 dos quais residentes e com investimentos na África do Sul, em diversos setores da economia. Assim, cabe o privilégio de convidar Vossa Excelência, Presidente da República de Moçambique, a dirigir-se aos ilustres empresários e homens de negócio aqui presentes. Senhor Presidente, por favor.
Irmão Jacob Zuma, Presidente da República da África do Sul, senhores ministros da Indústria e Comércio, senhores membros dos governos da República de África do Sul e de Moçambique, e porque nós também viemos acompanhados pelos deputados da Assembleia da República de Moçambique, queria também chamar a atenção de digníssimos deputados da Assembleia da República aqui presentes, estimados empresários sul-africanos e moçambicanos, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. Estive muito tempo a refletir qual é o modelo do encontro, da abordagem que devia fazer, e ontem também. Então pensei, se calhar a melhor forma é ir cumprimentar e depois sentar e o empresariado perguntar o que gostaria que os governos de Moçambique e de África do Sul fizessem para o progresso dos seus projetos, que são projetos a favor dos povos. Mas depois me recordei, no passado, quando estava em frente da gestão de uma empresa, organizamos um encontro dos utilizadores do porto. E nesse encontro deixamos para as pessoas falarem. E não falaram nada, só eram elogios. E o que fizeram foi, depois da nossa reunião, todos um a um pediram audiências. E ali onde falaram. Portanto, ali onde disseram os seus negócios, os seus projetos, não queriam falar em frente dos outros, porque diziam que o segredo é o sucesso do negócio. Então eu penso que a grande reunião é aquela que vocês fizeram nos encontros que tiveram, nas discussões desde ontem, de manhã e esta noite, e aquilo que vão continuar para frente. E estão de parabéns por terem uns dado pontapé de saída, outros por virem reativar os contatos que têm estado a fazer. Senhor Presidente, permita-me antes de mais que saúde.
Mr. President, I would like to greet you on behalf of the government of Mozambique and indeed on my own behalf. I want to greet all present and in particular the business people from the public and private sector who ensure the growth of our economies. I wish to express our appreciation for the fraternal welcome in this quiet Jacaranda city, because we came at the right time. Flowers are blooming. They are just making the city beautiful, including along the streets. And today, this is the headquarters of bilateral economic decisions we are making today. I would also like to greet all South African and Mozambican agencies that are coordinating and promoting the areas of investment and foreign trade for the perfect organization of this environment we are experiencing. Our visit is in itself the expression of the bonds of fraternity that bind the two peoples of South Africa and Mozambique, and it represents an opportunity for the strengthening of cooperation, and in this case, on the economic field. Our two governments have decided in these two parallel administrations or governing cycles, referring to the cycle in South Africa and Mozambique, to put more emphasis on the economic diplomacy. This is the right way to make our brotherly and friendly relations as well as our diplomatic cooperation more sustainable. And there are concrete examples due to the weaknesses in terms of the living standards of our people. We've had so many problems. If we are sustainable economically, particularly for our people, we will have less illegal migration. We will have less poaching. We will have less crime, and therefore we say that we need to embark on another battle, another front for human development and also social development, so that many conflicts and misunderstandings can reduce. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, this commensurate and grandiose event is a sound platform, and this the President Zuma said, and quite rightly, a sound platform for fruitful exchanges on business opportunity, partnership and complementarity between the business people of our two countries. We do not want to put pressure on the model on how you partner, since you are partners, and how you complement an activity which has started in an area and it will have to go to another area. And you know better than I this. South Africa is a strategic partner, unavoidable strategic partner of Mozambique, which takes its precedence in terms of the ranking of investors in Mozambique. There are yet opportunities to be explored, and it is in our interest that South African companies can consolidate their position by investing more in Mozambique with Mozambican partners. It is equally our interest that the promising and genuine Mozambican companies explore the space of the South African economy as a way of building more confidence and come up with more opportunities and to have investment in common projects in a cost-effective manner. We politicians are doing our part. We have devoted most times of our visit to deal with a productive sector related to the private sector. We want to bring the confidence that the governments have on you, and we also want to send a strong message that we government are together, which means that your investments will run less risks because they are supported by the governments of your countries. At the level of the Southern African region, we have to explore further this space of a free movement of goods, services and capitals in light of the resolutions as provided for in the roadmap and industrialization strategy, which has been recently approved by the heads of states and government of SADC. This business forum is one of the ways that we as a political power we found to facilitate and expose the potential of our countries. It is an opportunity to showcase our natural resources, the expertise and the technologies we have, and other opportunities that make us proud as a region and as neighbors. There are indeed conditions for the promotion of industrialization, which is targeted, geared towards modernization and diversification of the economy of our countries, which is coupled to the promotion of value chains for national commodities. Distinguished participants, Mozambique has recorded a remarkable growth of our economy with an average growth rate of 7.6% per annum over the last 5 years. This rising trend has been possible due to policies and measures of economic and administrative nature which have been taken by our government, making our environment stable and conducive for investment. Despite this reality, the country needs to increase the levels of private investment, both domestic and foreign investment, in order to sustain an even more speedy, inclusive and sustainable growth. Our countries need to increase the flow of international trade, focusing on the trade between themselves. We want to make a leap forward in terms of quality of our relations. In addition to being trade partners, we also want our business people to be partners in the creation of opportunities of investment in business, services and innovation. Our business people should believe in their capacities, and we governments want to help building mutual confidence as a major pivot to overcome the existing obstacles or hindrances that may arise along the process. So this is a plea we make. Please have a self-confidence. You should risk more. Economically, we are with you because we believe that you can do more. Distinguished business people, Mozambique focuses on investments in the most traditional sectors such as agriculture, industry, agri-processing, fisheries, tourism, which have a great potential in generating jobs. We are equally for a policy of balanced development throughout the national territory, which is still untapped. Balanced development is extremely important for us because Mozambique is a large country. We have northern, central and southern regions. We have areas which are less developed in the southern region and less developed in the central region and in the northern region, and it is part of our awareness to the business people, the need to promote balanced growth and development, the need to promote investment so that people in all areas they feel themselves as the owner of that country As you are aware, choices are immense, and investors are free to decide. We respect your vocations and your expertise, muscles, and financial power. At this point in time, we have land with remarkable coal and natural gas, and have mineral sands reserves and other mineral resources, which broadens the range of opportunities of investment and partnership with Mozambique. On agriculture, which is our priority, Mozambique is a vast country with more than 35 million of hectares of arable land, and with a favorable climate for the production of food crops and cash crops, most of which, if not all, are also grown in the lands of South Africa. There are those who may say that you are not growing a lot of grapes because wine comes from Cape Town and Mozambique is not. Please just wait. Anytime you will have wine of a Zuma farm in Maputo from Zuma.
It's good.
Yes, I was looking for these wines. All these wines are Niederberg, Barone. I never saw a Zuma wine. I believe we'll invite our brother so that when he retires, he can be in a vineyard so that he makes wine. He makes good. Our geographical location. Now I'll ask, why do you want him to retire soon? Did you clap your hands because I said retirement? That was just a story. That was our geographical location and rail and road infrastructures open ways for regional market for the consumption of more than 300 million people, in addition to the world market, which has got a high demand. This is another problem because Mozambique, we moved to the countryside. We have a coast, more than 3,000 kilometers of coastline. From Beira, you can come here. You can also go to Zimbabwe, Zambia. You can also go to the landlocked countries, all the way up to Katanga. It means there are so many opportunities for us to serve the market of the region and even move further. That's why this invitation is extremely opportune, so that we are not late, we don't lag behind. As we mentioned, we need to tackle what is possible immediately. The sector of energy, which is becoming the main talk, is a future of industry in the present, where Mozambique has got a comparative advantage due to the abundance of resources which are appropriate for this activity. For more than almost a decade, the SADC region has got a deficit of power of more than 1,000 megawatts. Mozambique could make available to the market more than 7,000 megawatts of power over the next 10 years, or even sooner. This is through the exploitation of the hydro power potential and renewable energies, with highlight to biomass and resources which are already available in Mozambique, because there is nothing else to do other than just putting our imagination at work and move on, because these resources such as coal, gas and water are there already. With firm investments, we can become a net from a net importer of oil and gas, we may become an exporter of these resources. It is very important that we harness water, which is abundant, the development of industry and agriculture, this that I've mentioned as the most important sector, because we need to regulate water. We need to do that through the management of our river basins, through the construction of dams and reservoirs, as we have envisaged in our 5-year government program. When I was in a meeting with President Zuma this morning, I said we have water, but water which is always causing havoc, is causing problems. When it rains, it washes away buildings, cattle, livestock, people. It destroys roads and bridges, and then after making all those damages, it flows to the sea. This year we have a drought in the southern region of the country when it doesn't rain, because we have no water. Our livestock has got no water to drink, and there's no grazing areas which are enough. So it is very important that we manage water so as to make our agriculture and livestock sustainable. Tourism is another area which, through its chain of activities, is more sustainable, and it can generate more income. A tourist wants good roads. A tourist wants a good runway to land. A tourist wants to eat well. A tourist wants to see dance, a good dance, and the music of the land he visits. There is nothing that the tourist does not unlock. Everything is unlocked because of tourism. Tourism needs a good hospital, because you cannot have tourism with a mosquito which causes malaria. So it is an activity which indeed is an engine of development wherever you have it. So we project Mozambique as a tourism destination of excellency, and we combine our biodiversity with highlight to our beautiful beaches, which are just crystal water beaches with tropical temperatures. Our culture of hospitality, apart from the good food we have, which confers Mozambique the status of, as I mentioned, Mozambique is a land of clear crystal beaches. It's a land of prawns. I believe I did not cause an appetite for anyone, but I'm just telling you what we have in Mozambique. It is a land of lobsters, a land of crabs, but I could mention more resources. This sector has got a margin of growth which is very high, and adjacent to tourism, we would like to announce a new offer. Recently, we have inaugurated a new airport for planes, big beach planes in the northern part of Mozambique, in Nacala city. This new airport, with international dimensions and a modern airport, places Mozambique close to the world, just 8 hours away from Europe and 6 hours away from Asia. So you don't need 14 hours to reach Asia. And this airport, distinguished businessmen, business people of South Africa, is not there to compete with any other airport. It has come to join other airports which are meant to facilitate life in your business, because your business are around this region, and therefore your customers should have options. And this is an alternative which has been, unfortunately, geographically, it is located in an area which is not Mpumalanga, but it is not to compete with them, because this is an airport which needs to be explored further and built on. Ladies and gentlemen, in Mozambique, we also have opportunities in cross-cutting sectors such as finance. Was suggested to start a Nyusi investment bank in Mozambique. But I would like to reassure you that I do not have such an inclination, but I will endeavor to make partnership with you one day if I retire sooner. Also, there are transport, communication, constructions and services, and you have a wealth of experience in these areas. So for us to respond successfully to the challenges of the development of our economies, we need to maximize the potential of each of our countries. Our countries need to focus on concrete actions in terms of business partnership with realistic time frames so that the results are tangible and they are quantifiable and qualifiable for our two countries. In this regard, I would like to make use of this singular opportunity to encourage the establishment of business partnerships between Mozambican citizens and South African citizens. When we talk of being brothers and sisters, we are not excluding companies with multinational partnerships. We are simply emphasizing the existing opportunities. We are aware that we are not islands. In the economic management, we know that the local partnerships, neighborliness, have more advantages because costs could be effective. But we also believe that we need to join those who have done things and who could do more things, and they can very quickly transfer expertise and technology to our countries. These partnerships should also generate jobs, expansion and diversification and integration of the economies of the two countries and the development of human capital. What makes our performance, our business performance, is the human capital factor, because we neglect the training of these people and then the quality lowers and our product is not competitive in the marketplace. Therefore, we need to diversify. I would suggest that in one of your workshops or seminar, you should not talk about gas, natural gas, because we are becoming, our mindset is around natural gas. Gas alone will not meet all our concerns. We need to diversify our economy. When gas, coal, or even heavy mineral sands, when their prices decline, we may cause imbalances to our economies. So these resources that we already know that they have value, it is. When I'm saying don't talk about gas, I'm not saying you should not process it. We need to think in a different way. I'm telling you that at any time, the most expensive commodity which can yield more incomes in our country may not, more revenues in our country may not be gas. And the time to dream infinitely is over. So we have agreed this is time to make things happen. This is time to act. It is time to generate wealth. We, the government of Mozambique, and I believe my brother Zuma allows me to talk on behalf of our two governments. We will do our level best, our part, so as to ensure that your investments are successful. In Mozambique, we have done everything to ensure stability, to consolidate peace through the exercise of democracy, which is not easy. We are a young country in terms of democracy. We are a young continent in terms of democracy. We have to be patient. We need to understand. We need to grow, including ourselves. We are growing by exercising democracy, but we believe that by upholding the noble values of reconciliation, of dialogue, tolerance, and respect for the difference, we can do more. To conclude my remarks, Mr. President, I had asked for some time, but our Master of Ceremony said he would not have the courage to tell me that, oh, enough is enough, your time is over, it would run a risk of President Zuma making a decision immediately saying, well, you are no longer a minister from now on, but I will help him so that he is not fired. I will conclude by urging this forum marks the opening of a new page in the consolidation of economic relations between our two countries, bring to us the hope that our peoples have on you, and strengthen above all confidence amongst yourselves, the South African business people and Mozambican business people. We are looking forward to a fruitful partnership, and also in light of the very good interventions we've made, and which are also geared to transfer of technology and partnerships with mutual benefit for our countries. Once again, thank you very much. I had an opportunity where I thanked President Zuma for the hospitality, but since our visit is not yet over, not because I don't trust that tomorrow I may suffer because of this, because I don't want my brother to feel that our speech is just to thank. We were, even if we suffer in this home, this is our home. Thank you very much.
Sua Excelência President Nyusi, Sua Excelência President Zuma,
President Nyusi, Ministers, Your Excellency President Zuma.
Chegamos no fim da sessão. Antes de fechar a sessão, queria, por parte de todos os presentes, agradecer os presidentes pela sapiência que ouvimos nos seus próprios discursos. Talvez a mensagem central é que há uma forte vontade política no mais alto nível que está atrás um fortalecimento das relações econômicas bilaterais, nossa viagem à industrialização nos dois países, na região
for
e no
business activities between both countries. I would also like to thank all the businessmen that participated in this forum, in this business forum. We spoke about we spoke about many things, and we took a commitment to strengthen all our efforts. We are very happy with the messages that we heard from your part, and we are at your disposal. This is the end of the session, and it is now. School.